Okay, a very good afternoon to everyone. A very good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. I know that some of you are joining us from the US, others are joining us from the UAE, Oman, Bahrain. I can see India. So thank you for being all here today. It's a pleasure to see all of you at this particular session. Just before we start, I'd like to introduce, obviously, we will introduce our esteemed speakers, Dr. Norita and her team. But before that, I'd like to introduce my colleague Sean from Studiosity.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Norman.
Good evening. So thank you very much for joining us to this very first series of the Future Focus Group Initiative series of webinars. Before we start, my name is Dr. Nariman Hashhamo, and for those of you who I might not have met in the past, I'm the founder and the CEO of CLICS, the Center for Learning Innovations and Customized Knowledge Solution. And this is an initiative that was launched back in January 2025 between Studiosity and CLICS. So we just would like to tell you a bit more about this initiative so that you're aware. The Future Focus Initiative is a collaborative effort that was launched by Studiosity and CLICS back in 2025, as I said, January very specifically. It aims to support the higher education institutions in navigating the rapidly evolving landscape of artificial intelligence by bringing together professionals from within our sector to discuss the impacts, the challenges, but also the opportunities and the experiences that we are actually having with the use of AI. A central part of the initiative is actually our University Leadership Steering Committee, which brings together forward-thinking leaders from the UAE at the moment, universities committed to ensuring that AI is adopted in ways that are meaningful, responsible, ethical, and sector strengthening. So as a steering committee, there are key responsibilities for this leadership committee, including recommending AI-related policies and direction, offering strategic guidance to institutions, and creating platforms like this ones for dialogue, for sharing experiences and sharing best practices. And you can see the institutions that are represented as part of this initiative. American University of Sharjah, from whom Dr. Norita and her colleagues are one of the members of this steering group. And I'd like really to take the opportunity to sincerely thank members of our steering group for their time, for their contribution, and for their dedication since the month of January. And we're hoping that in the future we are able to broaden this initiative to include neighboring countries as well. As part of our work, as part of this work, we have developed an AI in teaching and learning adoption framework, which is basically a key outcome of the work we've been doing since January. The framework is designed to support higher education institutions in the systematic integration of AI. So it's really about institutionalizing AI in the area of teaching and learning and assessment, while ensuring that we remain ethical, that we are responsibly using AI, where we have strong governance component, and where we promote at all times equity, access, and inclusion. So the structured approach of the framework aims to provide a roadmap for implementing AI to enhance the learning experience overall, to build teaching and student capacity, to develop robust AI-enabled infrastructure. So beyond acting as a framework that you could be using for adoption, it's a benchmarking tool also that will enable institutions to assess their current adoption practices, identify any potential gaps they have, and align with best practices. So it's been around 7-8 months of work with the members of the leadership steering group. At the core of the framework, obviously, are the guiding principles that ensure that AI adoption is done responsibly and is aligned with the institutional purpose and priorities. So we have a clear vision of what is it that we aim to achieve through the adoption of AI in teaching and learning. We just don't want to do it because it's fashionable and everybody else is doing it, but we really need to have clear success measures that we will basically monitor and track to see the impact of the integration of AI. So at the core of this, obviously, we have 3 core pillars that basically details and describes best practices around the integration of AI in the curriculum, not just in terms of building AI literacy, but also how the disciplinary topics are also revamped to address AI evolution and so forth. We're looking at teaching and learning, reshaping the pedagogical approaches that we adopt, and obviously rethinking assessment, which is today our subject for our webinar today. The enablers of this particular framework looks at building faculty and student instructor, developing robust and inclusive infrastructure, and facilitating AI exploration, experimentation, and continuous learning. And obviously, there are three main cross-cutting themes that looks at policy and governance, ethical AI use, and academic integrity, and equity, access, and fair practices. Now, the various components of the framework actually creates a comprehensive model for supporting institutions in the adoption of AI in learning and teaching. And the framework is supported by a detailed rubric that provides structured mechanisms for institutions to assess their level of integration and their level of maturity. So every element within the framework is broken down into key dimensions against which the institutions can evaluate their progress. And obviously, I mean, these are just, you can find all this information. It's public domain. It's available on our both Clicks and Studiosity website. We will share the link with you in the text, in the chat box, if you wanted to find out more about the framework. We started this development in January, just to give you an idea, where we had some initial discussion with the leadership focus group. Then we've undergone a benchmarking. We've looked at different frameworks that are available from the Digital Education Council, from UNESCO, from OECD, and from many others, from EDUCAUSE and from many other organizations. Then we basically worked on a skeleton framework, which we have refined through a roundtable that was hosted at the Canadian University in Dubai, and that included a broader representation of the sector, not just the members of the focus group. And then we have piloted the framework. Obviously, there are refinements and enhancements that are happening, and then we're looking at expanding it and basically, continuing to enhance it and improve it because this is a very rapid field. We're also inviting institutions to share with us best practices, case studies, guidelines that supports the various pillars of the framework. So if any of your institution was interested, there are guidelines for submission of case studies and best practices and so forth. So that's enough about the framework. We'll drop the link in the chat box for those of you who want to know more about it. And today's webinar obviously marks the beginning of a series of webinars, online panels, and in-person roundtables that we plan to organize with the leadership group, but also by Studiosity and Clicks. And today our session is very specific around assess smarter, rethinking teaching, testing, and thinking in the age of AI, where we will explore how generative AI is reshaping assessment and how educators can intend experience. Just so that you know, just before we start our session, we will take questions and answers towards the end. So there is a Q&A box. Please do drop your questions there. There will be certificates of participation that will be issued for those who attend the entire session with us. We will share with you more information at the end of the session. And now it's my pleasure to welcome our distinguished colleagues from the American University of Sharjah, Dr. Norita Ahmed, who's the director of the Center of Innovation in Teaching and Learning, who brings with her more than 15 years of academic experience working both in the UAE and the United States. I think she joined the UAE in 2008. She has a background in engineering and management and has been a leading figure in MIS analytics, and more recently in AI integrated pedagogies, contributing to cutting-edge practices to teaching and faculty development. Along with her are her colleagues, Randa Bou Mehdi and Diana Odi, and I will give you the floor and I'll talk to you again at the end of the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nariman, for the very kind introduction. And I just want to also thank you for giving me the opportunity to do the opening for the series, for the upcoming series. So thank you for that. And also I can see that we have quite a number of diverse group of people here joining from everywhere. I can see obviously from the UAE, from Bahrain, from Oman, from Malaysia. Nice to see that. And also I can see here one of my former students is joining us as well. So that is very inspiring. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So let me just share my screen very quickly here. Okay, I hope that everybody is able to see my screen. Yeah? Okay, sounds good. So again, today is one of, I guess, the most asked question among educators is, in the age of AI, how exactly are we supposed to start redesigning our assessments? So thinking about that, having a lot of discussion and conversation with my colleagues, so we came up with this idea of having a webinar that focus on how can we assess our students smarter. So thank you again, everybody, for being here. Let me introduce ourselves again. So as you can see here, this is an animation figure of the three of us generated by AI, obviously. So again, my name is Norita Ahmad. I'm joined here by my colleague, Randa and Diana. I have been here like Narimano Research since 2008. So I'm also a professor of information system and business analytics, in addition to being the director at Center for Innovation in Teaching and Learning. So I'm just going to quickly give the floor to Randa and Diana to introduce themselves. So Randa.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. So I'm Randa Boumehdi. I'm a senior instructor in the Department of English, and I've been teaching since 2010 here at AUS, academic writing courses and business writing courses.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ms. Diana Audi, senior instructor at the mathematics department at AUS. I have joined AUS since 2007, and I thank you all for attending this seminar with us.
Thank you, Randa and Diana. So let's go ahead. So we have kind of tried to structure the webinar in a way that is going to be logical for you to follow our discussion. So first, we're just going to bring in the context of the discussion, the importance of rethinking assessment in the age of AI. So we're going to kind of give some ideas in terms of why do we need to do that. And then we're going to transition to the actual demonstration, maybe not demonstration per se, because that's going to take a lot of time. So we're going to give examples of the three different courses that we have here at AUS. So I'm going to go over the information system strategy course that I taught in spring 2025. And then Randa is going to talk about basic academic writing, and Diana is going to talk about calculus too. And then at the end, we're going to come back and I'm going to kind of go over the key takeaways before we open up the floor for Q&A. And also feel free to share your best practices in the classroom as well. Okay, we are more than happy to take that. So at the end of the webinar, we really want to make sure that at the very least, you're going to take away with you one of the three, if not all the three of the objective here. So definitely we want to make sure that you understand how AI is transforming assessment, and also how we can use AI to help us to provide feedback as well to our students. We also want to make sure that you can explore some of the strategies and ideas that we are going to share with you in terms of how to create authentic, AI resilient, and AI enhanced assessment. And those has to be aligned with the course learning outcomes of your courses. And finally, this is very, very important as well. We want to make sure that you can identify the different opportunities that you can use in terms of integrating some of the experiential examples that we're going to be sharing with you today, so that you can borrow the ideas or even expand that into your own courses. Okay. So before we start, I just want to get some ideas from where you're coming from. So please join us at slido.com. You can just scan the QR code. I just want to see exactly which part of assessment has been most affected by AI in your class. I know that it can be more than one, but pick one that is the most important for you. Okay, please scan that, or you can just join slido.com and use the code. Project-based assessment. Okay, my course is based on project. So that's going to be interesting when I discuss about some of the example that I do in my class. Take-home writing assignments. Definitely, if you are teaching writing like Randa, this is one of the biggest issues that we face. Okay, what else do we have? Quizzes and exams, obviously. That is one of the most difficult things. What exactly do we do? How do we do quizzes now? How do we design exams? Okay, homework, problem sets. So this, I guess, this is more prominent in STEM courses like math, coding, physics, homework problem set. Yeah. Okay, I'm very, very intrigued. Oh, wow, we have, 5% who has yet to be affected by AI. That is very interesting. So I would really love to hear from you at the end. Wow. Okay, so we have take-home writing assignments to be one of the most that has been affected by AI. Okay, great. So I do not want to spend so much time here. So this is going to be a very good starting point for us. So now I just want to go over and bring the context in terms of why do we want to rethink assessment in the age of AI. Okay, so the one thing, most of us here are educators. The one thing that we really want our students to do when they take our classes is to make sure that they are really engaged with the course material. And we also want them to be able to think critically. Okay, so that is always being the number one priority for educators. But now with technology, especially with AI, what change? Do we have to change our focus? So this is the one thing as educators, regardless of what happened, our focus or our priority should always be the same, to make sure that our students can engage with the material that we cover in the class, to make sure that they can still have or develop critical thinking in our classes. Okay? So obviously now with the introduction of AI, traditional take-home written assignments is not going to work anymore. You give any take-home assignments, what do people do? Students just going to take that, give that to GAI, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, anything, and then everything is going to be automated. Defeat the purpose. So because of that, today especially, people has been saying about AI cheating because it is to the extreme nowadays that students use AI to cheat. So is there any solution at all, or is this the no turning point that we are facing? So this is one of the questions. I mean, there are a couple of different school of thoughts. Even at AUS, we always have 3 different groups of faculty members, those who are really into technology, those who say, no, zero technology in my class, and the one that's just, I don't really care. I'll do it when I'm forced to do it. But the one thing that is kind of arising a little bit right now, we have a couple of different focus groups. So people start talking about going back to the traditional way of assessment. Or in other words, people talk about the Oxford way of teaching, Oxford University, because they never really change when it comes to teaching. It is always traditional. It is always paper and pen, handwriting, everything, face-to-face, and a combination of one-on-one oral examination. Can we do that? Obviously, it worked for them. It works for Oxford University, but imagine if you were to have 100 students in your class, or even if you were to have 30 students in your class. Can you do an oral face-to-face exam with them? That's going to be very time-consuming. I mean, for most universities, we don't even have enough time to do research, to do services. So this is a question that we want to ask. For somebody like me, I really love technology. So for me, we should use this opportunity to embrace AI, use AI as a partner. We don't want AI to replace us. Obviously, we're going to be out of job, but we want to make sure that we use AI as a partner. So in this case, when we redesign assessment, we want to focus on 2 things, okay? Number 1 is we want to make sure that assessment is going to help students to think instead of for the students to recall or memorize the points that we discuss in class. We don't want that anymore. We want to make sure that we focus on thinking. Second, we want to focus on process over the final product. Students need to understand how to get from point A to Z, okay? And obviously, AI can help us to create a lot of ways to design our assessment to make them more authentic, to make it more inclusive, and also to help us to provide a richer feedback to our student, okay? So with this, I also just want to re-emphasize the fact that instead of focusing on testing what our students know, we want to go more into thinking about how do students think. reason and also apply the concept. So you can see that there are a couple of different ways that we can do this. And we're going to discuss most of them later on when we show examples of what we do in our classes. So we're going to talk about critical evaluation. We want to talk about reflection, about metacognition, or thinking about thinking. We want to talk about scenario-based and real-world application. And also, most important thing is the multi-step reasoning. So we want to make sure that we have multi-layer of assessment when we give students a specific task for them to do. And Nariman's talk about framework, but this is the framework that I use just specifically for redesigning an assessment. There are so many different variations to this framework. I'm pretty sure that if you were to Google or if you were to join a couple of different groups, you're going to see that there are many different types or different framework for assessment. But this is the one thing that I use and I think it worked for me, and because I already applied that in my courses. So there are 4 different stages. So the first one is about making sure that the learning outcome is achieved. So we want to make sure that we really understand what do we want to get out of this assessment. Okay, what specific thinking or skill that we want our students to demonstrate. That's the first one. Once we do that, when we are clear with the learning outcome, we go to stage 2, where we choose the right method of assessment. So we try to check exactly what are the format that we want to focus on. Is that AI resilient, or we want it to be more AI enhanced? From there, since we are integrating AI into our assessment, we want to make sure that we define the role of AI very, very clearly. So this is the one thing. AUS has an institutional AI policy. So if you have something like this, like what we have to make sure that we clearly put whatever it is, define every single thing that we want the student to use or not to use. So if we were to allow, what exactly do we want them to use? If we want to restrict, where or which part of the assessment we want to restrict them from using AI. And if it is required, again, we want to make sure that how are we supposed to let them use that? Once that is clearly defined, so students understand exactly what they can and cannot do for this specific assessment. And then obviously at the end, this is very, very important. We want to make sure that the assessment that we create has some sort of transparency, and also we want to make sure that it requires a lot of reasoning from the students that's coming in, okay? Not something that is just objective. So we want to have multiple draft checkpoints, again, multi-layered. And then we want the students to be able to include their own personal insight. Okay, so this is very useful because AI not going to be able to do that when we require students to include something that is more personal to them. And we also want to make sure that, we give opportunity for students to reflect on their work. Once you have something like this, and if you feel that this assessment is good enough, what do you do? Do you straight away go and create this assessment? So the one thing that I would suggest you to do is that have this assessment, put it or check with GAI, and then see if AI can answer your question. If the answer that the AI gave you is something that you expect, meaning to say that your assessment is not good enough, go back and revise again. So this is something that you want to go over and over again. So you also look at the feedback from the AI. Okay, so this is something that I usually do with every single assessment that I create. And I'm going to show you later on in terms of, the actual thing that I do in my class. So again, if you have any question, wait until the end, or you can just put in the chat, okay? I'm pretty sure people are going to start questioning, how do we do this? How do we do that? So yeah, bear with me. Okay, let me just go to the next one. Okay. So what exactly can AI add in terms of assessment design? So there are a lot of different things that we can use AI when we create assessment. So, but I'm just going to share with you a couple of things that I think that's the most common. The first one is AI can help to generate multiple variation of question for different levels or different sections. So for math, for English, usually you have multiple sections. So you do not want to use the same question for all of them. So you can use AI to help you to generate different variation of questions. You can also create real-world scenarios. I use this quite a lot because they are very, very helpful. Draft rubrics. Again, I use this quite a lot as well. I'm going to show you some of the prompts that I use later on. I also use combination of AI and obviously my personal reflections when I provide feedback to my student. And one of the most important things that we can use AI to help support accessibility in terms of language, scaffolding, rephrasing, and so on. Okay, so I hope that you get enough motivation. Why do we need to redesign our assessment when it comes to now where AI is one of the biggest factor? Okay, so now we're going to transition to the examples of the classes that we have here at AUS. So I'm going to start with my own class, ISA 405, Information System Strategy, that is offered in the School of Business Administration. So this is a capstone course for all the information system major. So every single ISA student have to take this course as one of the last courses towards their graduation, okay? Because this is a capstone class, we have a capstone project. So you can see that the ISA strategy project accounts for 30% of the weight and 10% for project presentation. So for this course, 40% is just for project. And this course is not very traditional in the sense that because it is project-based, we usually partner with industries, with companies. Usually I pick companies in the UAE so that students can work very closely with them. So as an example, for the past 2 semesters, we have worked very closely with Noon, the e-commerce company here in the UAE. And Noon is very generous in terms of their time and also in terms of presenting students with real case problem for the students to solve. So for last semester, let's say, for example, we have 5 different groups of students and Noon actually sent 5 different mentors to help mentor our students throughout the semester. And the good news also is that at the end of the semester, they usually hire 5 to 7 of our students to work with them. So this is a really good collaboration that we have with the industry. Another thing that is very important about this class is that I do not use any textbook, again, because this is a capstone class. So instead, what I use is a novel. So the novel is called The Phoenix Project. I really love this novel because it is about the journey of an IT leader. And also it talks about development operations and all the different challenges that they face. So this is kind of a real life journey of an IT leader. So students are able to apply the theory that they learned for the past 4 years at AUS and apply that in this course, okay? And I don't want to talk about the project because that is another talk. Maybe we can have another webinar for just project-based learning. But what I want to do, I just want to talk about the 3 case write-out that we do. The 3 case presentation, we need to say that they have 5% each. And another very important one is the leadership reflection journal. That is 15%, we have 5 of them, so 3% each. Students usually do this every 2 to 3 weeks. Where they have to submit a reflection of what have been done during the time frame. Okay, so that is the overview of the class. So I'm just going to give you an example of one of the case analysis homework that they have to do. So for this particular case analysis, this is the first case analysis that they have to do. It is about the IS strategy triangle. The objective is for the student to use JAI to produce an initial response to a very specific strategy question. And then they have to critically analyze the reasoning, accuracy, and assumptions of the results that they get from AI. And the overall goal for this assessment is for critical thinking, metacognition, and also for responsible use of AI. So I have on the right-hand side here in the red box, 2 examples of the prompts that I use for this specific assignment. So the first one that I do is I ask AI to help me generate the different ways to assess students' ability to apply IS strategy triangle in real setting. And then I also asked AI to help me create rubric for this particular assignment. You can use this, but you have to be very, very careful because you want to make sure that whatever it is that you adopt has to be relevant to you, has to be something that you're very comfortable with. Okay, I'm not going to share with you all the prompts and the details of the assessment itself, but I have the QR code over there. If you scan the QR code, it's going to take you to the actual assessment or the actual case analysis that I have already assigned to my student in spring 2025. Okay. And also, in the interest of time, because I want to make sure that we have enough time at the end for a question, you can also see that for each of the assessment that I do, I map them with the framework. So it's going to be very, very easy for anybody to actually reuse whatever it is that I do here and reapply that to your own courses because, it's very, very specific. Okay, the next assessment that I want to share is for the presentation. Okay, so this is the third presentation that they have to do. Again, remember, they have to read the novel. So for this particular presentation, they have to read the Phoenix Project novel, chapters 25 to 29, and then they have to present in terms of how teamwork, leadership, and also overall strategy, the IT strategy concept has been applied throughout the chapters, okay? And the way that they do that is they can choose any multimedia format. They can do video, podcast, role play, or news report, anything at all, as long as it is authentic. So the assessment goal here is enforcing the creativity, ethical AI integration, and also the reflection itself. Okay, so some of the prompt examples that I have here. So basically, I already have the idea in terms of what I want to do. So what I asked AI to do is that to help me modify the assessment so that, I can tweak that a little bit to help support the student in terms of creating creativity, but we do not want that to kind of overtake everything. Okay, we want AI to help students to brainstorm the idea and to help them in the whole process of getting the idea, but everything else has to be done by you. And also, another question that I asked AI to do is that list potential ethical challenges students might face when they use AI in this particular task and then suggest guidelines. So these are something that I also included in detailed guideline for the presentation. So again, you can scan the QR code, you're going to see exactly the actual presentation guideline that I have already assigned to my student last semester. Okay, I don't really want to go over details of the mapping. You can definitely, do the mapping later on. We're going to share you a copy of the slides. Okay, the next one that I want to do, this is the last one, is the leadership reflection journal. So basically what happened here is that, so I have this instruction because I know that I want the student at the end of after 2 or 3 weeks, when we have enough materials that we cover in the class, we have enough activities that we cover in the class, I want the students to reflect on that. And I want them to be very creative in their reflection. So that is why I put a note over there, is that in the reflection, they can use any media of their choice. Obviously, we're going to have a few students, who are not very motivated, and they just submit a written report or reflection, which is not something that I want to see because I know that that can easily be done by AI. So usually I will encourage them to push themselves a little bit and reflect using non-traditional media or non-traditional submission. Okay, so what I want to do now, obviously you can scan the QR code and then you can see exactly the full detail of the assignment. But what I want to do now, I want to go and try to do a very quick hands-on to show you exactly how this can be done. Okay, so I'm just going to use, okay, you can see that, right? Instead of using ChatGPT, because everybody kind of use ChatGPT, so I don't want to use ChatGPT. So I just want to show, I picked DeepSeek, and it's kind of interesting because DeepSeek can give you some surprises at times. Okay, so I'm just gonna, I copied the prompt of the instruction. Oops, not this one. Let me just go back. Let me just see, oops. Okay, let me just, can I stop this? Okay, I'm gonna, bear with me for a minute. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen for DeepSeek? Yes, okay. I'm just going to put in here, but is this enough? You know, just the description. So obviously I do not want the description. What I want is that I want DeepSeek to help me create a grading rubric. Help me create grading rubric based on these instructions. I don't really have to care about spelling mistake. Sorry about that, Randa, because they're going to take care of this. So I'm just going to run this, okay, and see what we get. Okay, they're so nice. Of course, excellent reflective assessment. Okay, so you can see here, very, very easy. It's going to give you, okay, the different ways, criterias, and also categories for your rubric. So if this is something that you like, you can go ahead and use it. But obviously, you know, when I look at this, I don't really like it because it's basically just extracting some of the words from my prompt. So I don't really like it. So this is the kind of stuff that we get when we use AI. So we want to make sure that we've personalized that a little bit. So maybe here I'm going to say that I do not want to have 4 different categories. I just want to have 3 categories, A, B, and C. Exemplary, proficient, and developing. So you can make any changes that you want there. Okay, so that is one. Another thing that I use here as well, which is something that my students, you know, I just test with my student because especially to those students who submitted AI generated assignment, especially for the reflection. So what I usually do just to kind of, you know, pull their leg a little bit is just I use AI to write feedback for them. And then I just give the feedback to them. And then they will come back and say, I don't like that. Why do you ask AI? This is not your feedback. And you can say the same thing. I do not like your submission as well. It's not yours. It's not authentic. So this is the kind of stuff, you know, that you can do to kind of teach the student a little bit. But the one thing that I want to show you here as well, okay, just the last one. Okay, this is an example of, I cannot really share with you the actual work that the students submitted. So this particular student actually created a vlog for the reflection. So I really like the vlog because it's so easy, right? When you go and walk, you can always just listen to the vlog. You can also, when somebody send a podcast, I like that as well because you can easily listen to that. So usually I will give, you know, I will say, hi, Amy, hi, Nariman, you know, I will make it very, very, you know, personal to them. And then what I do is that I go to AI and then I can just write whatever it is that I want in terms of my feedback to the student in my own word. Okay, so basically all of these are my prompt because I know exactly what the student wrote. And then I know the specific thing that I like about the submission. And let's say, for example, here, because I know this is a very, very good student, I know that he always in the class, it is a he, always just use real world examples, you know, when he participates and answer question during the discussion. So I can easily just add anything personal that's coming from me that is not coming from AI. But everything else is structured by AI. So I have 30 students last semester. And then the kind of feedback like this usually take 5 hours for me to write. But now it is just less than 1 hour, everything's done. It is still authentic because it is still mine, but everything, the structure, the rubric is created with the help of AI. Okay, so with that, I'm just going to stop my part and I'm just going to pass to Diana because she has quite a lot of things to share as well. Over to you, Diana. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry for that. Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to thank you for attending this webinar. Today, I will share my experience about the use of ClassPoint AI in my math classes, especially in classroom, and I will talk about how did it help me to assess and improve the experience in teaching mathematics. But first of all, excuse me, I want to share my screen because I will use my notes because I will make it more engaging, the lecture. Is that possible? I'll go ahead and I'll
Yeah, we can see Diana. Go ahead.
yes, let me go where I need to start. All right. So today I'll share my experience about Calculus 2. This is a very challenging course for our math students, especially for the engineering students. Math 104 covers many hard topics, and sometimes students lose engagement while teaching this course because it has lots of abstract ideas, series, integration, polar. Sometimes they say, why you are using this? And they really get like distracted a lot in this course. So I thought like, how could I improve this experience? How do I engage my students? And I came up with using ClassPoint AI. In ClassPoint, I'll talk about the objectives of the use of AI and why did I think about this AI and how did it help me in math education? So did applying the ClassPoint AI make students more engaged, do a better experience? And did it help me to practice more real math examples with them? That's why I chose a ClassPoint. And I try to enhance the engagement as much as I can using this ClassPoint AI. And it helped me to get an instant feedback. And this is a very common, very important thing. We always, as math teachers, we ask them, did you understand the material? No. Sometimes I try to get it out from their eyes. If they look at me in like more like they get it, I said, let me move on to a new topic. Sometimes I say, let me repeat. So using AI actually helped me a lot to know whether should I go back, revisit the concept, or move to a new topic. So my classes are more dynamic, no more fixed and like planned from before. Each slide depends on what I do, what do I get from students' feedback, and then I move on to a new topic. So my teaching was personalized according to that experience with my students. And I try to use as much as assessment and quizzes during my classes using ClassPoint AI. So there were lots of challenges, as I said, like abstract topics, students were not engaged, and material is hard, and the assessment, because Math 104 was actually a very long course, we cannot do lots of assessment to know what's happening with our students during the classes. That's why I came up with the ClassPoint AI. First of all, why did I choose ClassPoint? I actually have tried many things. I have tried Mentimeter. I tried lots of poll everywhere. Before COVID, I was doing polling, poll everywhere. I tried lots of things, but at the end, I decided to stick with ClassPoint AI. One of the most important reasons in ClassPoint AI, it's embedded in my PowerPoints. So it's inside it. While I'm teaching, I can quickly use it. I don't need to leave and go to another website or another page to use it. And everything I do it any assessment, anything I do through this AI is saved within my own PowerPoints. So students will, when they open the PowerPoint slides, they want to study that section, they go back and look again at what has been this assessment, what kind of assessment they went through, what mistakes. And even though it allowed me to write with my pen on this assessment and explain and put remarks handwritten, I don't need to type. That was very helpful. Sometimes you have your own PowerPoint slides, but you have to type equations, format. This is very hard. So I put a quiz, I put an assessment, I run it, I look at their mistakes, and then with my pen, I can write and save it within my PowerPoint slides. That what made me actually like ClassPoint. That was the first thing. Another thing was really very, very important, and which is the only feature is found only in ClassPoint AI, is that ClassPoint AI is the only AI that can generate a question on each slide put or designed in your PowerPoint notes. So while student is studying at home, he reads that slide, maybe he got it, maybe he did not understand. So he wants to test himself. So he can ask the AI to generate questions and test himself. And for other reasons, I used ClassPoint. I think all other AIs can have it, generating a quiz, cloud, and uploading an image, or asking students to draw and upload their graph. These, I think, are common for other AIs. But the first two items, which is generating a question on each slide and grading it for the students while studying and saving these questions on their PowerPoint slides, is very important. And because it's embedded within my PowerPoint slide. I'll give an example about each of these features found in ClassPoint AI. How do we visit ClassPoint AI? Actually, this is the website. You just go to classpoint.io and install it and activate it. There are two versions of ClassPoint. You can go for the free version, but I got the paid version, which is that allows me to have more students to join. The free version allowed me only to reach almost 30 students, but the paid one allowed me to have more than 100, 150 students and to create a list for each class. Students don't need to scan the code each time. One time they scan it at the beginning of the semester, they have a history. This history changes the whole semester. At the end of the semester, I get all the questions that they answered it correct, wrong, and it gives me total grade for the whole thing they have done it in the whole semester, and that would be very good for class participation. So at the end of the semester, I can go and look at each student and look how many stars did they collect during the whole semester, and I can know whether they were working with me or no. So I'll start with the first feature of PowerPoint slides, which is the quiz generator. And then I'll move on to other things. You can see here in this, this is like one of my slides talking about equation of a line. So for example, if a student is studying this slide and he doesn't know whether he understood it or no, he wants to test his understanding, he can ask the AI and generate a question and examine himself. So this is like the student pressed on the AI and the AI gave him the question, and it's a multiple choice question. Or sometimes he has to fill in the blank and it gets graded by the AI and he will see his own mistakes. Maybe I can generate one question with you very fast. So talk about how to use it. So if I'm a student, I have this ClassPoint. This is my slide. I go to ClassPoint AI. And after that, I go to slideshow. And from current slide, we can see here, I cannot see because I'm sharing my screen. Let me remove this. Just one moment. I need to this toolbar. Say enable editing. Sorry for that. All right, so you see when I pressed use ClassPoint, you see the bar that you see it at the end. It has many features that the students can use it, and one of the most important feature is ask the AI to ask you more questions to generate questions. So when the student presses on this, the AI comes within the notes, and you can say, generate a question to test yourself whether you got or understood the question. For example, this is like asking about and the questions are coming from what has been explained in that slide. So these are questions student has to answer, and the students would answer and check the answer. The answer is A, and he can also save it as a slide in his study. So that was actually very helpful in the study, and really it helped our student a lot, and they were really praising it while studying the class point, the course using the class point. So you can, it doesn't only generate one question. As you can see, one question, two questions, many questions. You can keep on asking the AI, generate another question. Let me test. Maybe I did not answer the first question correctly. Generate and generate and generate. So many more. And this is another example of my slide about logarithm, where we ask again the AI to generate questions. You see that it is ready. Once you press on it, it is ready. You can say generate a question, and it generates a question about it. It's talking about logarithms, so the question will be generated about what has been explained about logarithm, and it gives me multiple choice. You answer, and you can, if you don't like the question, you can generate another. You can, maybe if you don't know how to solve it, you can ask for the solution and save it again as a slide. So that was the most important feature about ClassPoint, and it was really very helpful for the students while they're studying and testing. The most important is not only to study, to assess your studying. Did I get it? Do I need to revisit the concept? Do I need to read the slide again? Did I skip any idea? I did not. I read it quickly, or I did not concentrate, and maybe it's important topic. So this visits all the things you need to be aware of it inside that slide. So you can keep on asking, generate a question, and lots of questions can be generated. The second thing that I can use ClassPoint is multiple choice questions. You can create a multiple choice question, like this is a multiple choice question, and ask students. I activate it. Again, how do I generate a multiple choice question? In ClassPoint, there's a place, let me show you. In ClassPoint, for example, whenever you need the AI ClassPoint, you can say create a multiple choice. I press here, then the sign of the multiple choice comes, and students can answer the question, and you get their solutions and their feedback. There's a thing I want to talk about it here. I like it a lot, actually, about this ClassPoint and how do I use it in my ClassPoint notes. For example, I did not prepare it, and I still feel students are still stuck with any concept. I can go and type. Can say find, for example, the period, for example, whatever I'm explaining, let's say sine, the period of sine x. So I can quickly write a question, and the AI will understand it, even if it's my handwritten thing, and it's even if how fast I go. For example, I put 2 pi, here I put pi. I can generate a question very easy. I don't need to prepare it at home. Because, as I said, my lecture should be a dynamic lecture. What will come next depends on their answers, on their feedback on the previous question. So if I ask a question, I notice they still have doubts about the period, I can generate another question and go to ClassPoint. Look how easy. I want to make it multiple choice. And I made the answers two answers, and I can put stars. For example, I can put 2 stars. It's a difficult question, and my answer is A, and save it as default, and then assign it to my students as a multiple choice. And they will answer it, and they will get the feedback. And after that, I will know whether I need to move on with the period of sine or move to another cosine, graph, or period, or other stuff. So ClassPoint really was very effective in multiple choices. I don't need to prepare at home. I can make it quickly and put the question and answer it with my students, even with my handwritten or if I want things more organized, there's another feature that ClassPoint has it. For example, I want to insert a formula. And the formula so taking me much time. So I say insert and I go to questions. Let me take the toolbar down so that I can go to equations. So I go to equation and use, this is a very important thing. I can write with my pen and the class point will change it to a mathematical equation. For example, y equals x squared plus 5. I don't want to type it, insert it. It will be inserted, and if you want to zoom it more, you can see it more and more, and you can maximize it. So this is a very important feature in ClassPoint. I can do any multiple choice, write it, type it in a very quick way. So it was very efficient thing for me, multiple choice questions. Another thing that helped really in the ClassPoint is the slide drawing. I can share with them the XY axis, and I ask them draw any graph they can draw, and they don't need to have like a tablet or any pen or any iPad with a pen. They can only use their cell phone and draw with their finger, and it works, and I can get the graph. That was very effective for drawing, and helped me a lot to discover if they understood any graphing questions. For example, this is a sign question. I can share this again. I press on the ClassPoint. I want slide drawing, and this is what comes on their cell phone, and they can draw it with their fingers, and I send me the answer, and I can see the graphs. Another thing I could use it with the ClassPoint, also word cloud. You're all familiar actually with the word cloud, and you can ask any question. For example, I'm defining a sequence. What do you think of sequences? Can you define a sequence with one word and give me, and I can have a feedback from my students about it, or about functions. Many, we have lots of abstract concepts in mathematics. I can use word cloud before I start explaining to see what did they understand about that topic. You see, I'm putting lots of ideas about what could I ask in a word cloud. For example, improper integrals. I can ask power series. As I told you, this is a very challenging course, lots of abstract concept, and we need to see students, you got it in word cloud or no. So we can have lots of things. I wish I have enough time to share and do some practices with you, but as you know, we have limited time. I was planning to activate and ask you to share, to scan the QR code to prepare it and do it. But I prefer to explain more. And if I have a chance at the end, maybe we can try it a little bit. There's another feature that AI, this ClassPoint have it, and it's very important. Some students said, Miss, we don't like to draw on my cell phone. Maybe it's too small. Maybe the units are not clear. We want to write more and we are faster. I like to write on a paper. So they can solve the question even on a paper, and they can upload the image, take a picture with their cell phone and upload it. And we can grade it and check it. And the nice thing about ClassPoint, when they all upload, I have a class of 96 students in my class, my Math 104. They upload it. It gives me one sheet with the 94 answers, and then I can zoom and go discuss the mistakes of each student and talk about it and give more stars to more organized and correct work. That was very helpful in my teaching, and students actually were really engaged and were really excited. Whenever I teach a concept, they tell me, Miss, what about you give us a question? We test our understanding, and then you look and you give us your feedback. And after I give them my feedback, they show me the reflection. They say, why did they think in that way? Maybe, Miss, your question wasn't clear. They thought they need to do something else. So that opened lots of arguments and lots of discussions, and most of the students were engaged and were more closer to these abstract concepts. And at the end of the use of this ClassPoint AI, the tips that helped me for success: prepare my PowerPoint slides as like concepts without one or few examples. You don't need to put these examples because, as I said, I can write it with my pen quickly. or I can use the write with a pen and change it to a mathematical equation and ask my students to do it. Try to make things short, write the equation in very short way, and not to lose time and to spend the whole time writing the questions. Be careful for different math is always like we are always covered about the formatting. I have to write it in a very clear way, even my handwriting, so that the AI will translate it to a mathematical equation, understand it. Especially, this is number 3, if AI wants to read a PowerPoint slide and generate a question, so try to use your mathematical data very clear and more understandable by the AI. That was one of the challenges that I faced while preparing my lecture notes as PowerPoints. So I tried my best to make my explanation more language, more than math formatting. And this helped the AI to understand that slide and generate many questions and grade students' work. And use these tools effectively and in a creative way, whether quizzes or word cloud, or uploading an image or generating questions. And at the end, AI, it amplifies teaching, saves a lot of time and boosts the engagement, encourages students to try, encourage shy students to write, to look at their mistakes, and gives me a very important feedback about whether I move on to a new topic or revisit the concept. And by this, we enhance the experience of formative assessment before we reach the end of the semester. And we have no clue about what students know and what they don't know. And maybe there are some mistakes, they know the concept, but there are common mistakes. They learned it from before and they keep on doing them. And this is what makes their answer become wrong. So this is what made me enhance the experience of teaching and make students do a better job. So my recommendation, use it, but always be careful. Thank you, everyone. And I hope you all enjoyed this class points. And I will leave now the room to Miss Randa. I will go and stop sharing my screen. And thank you all.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Diana, for this. So what I'm going to focus on is how I redesigned one of the assessments in my basic academic writing course, Writing 001. Just to give you a quick background on the course, this is a course that is a prerequisite for our main writing courses at AUS, Academic Writing 1 and Academic Writing 2. So students are enrolled in basic academic writing if they do not achieve a particular required score on their placement tests. So it focuses on basic paragraph and essay writing, even sometimes at the sentence level, sentence structure, rhetorical strategies, reading skills as well, evaluating main ideas, supporting details, analyzing audience, purpose, context, and of course, grammar, clear, grammatically correct and varied sentences. So you can see here the assessment schedule, and what I will focus on is how I've redesigned one of the assignments. Now I've done more, of course, during the semester, but I will be just sharing particularly what I've done with one of the assessments, which is essay number 1. So I've redesigned this essay by focusing on Kolb's experiential learning cycle, taking students from a concrete experience to reflective observation, to abstract conceptualization where they understand the concepts, and then to active experimentation. So in today's talk, what I will be doing is I'll be walking you through the 4 stages of this cycle and what I did in each stage, from the library AI exhibition visit to the in-class reflections, topic-focused development, and then to the essay writing process, which is a process in itself, of course. So it all started when we were sent an email from the library informing us that there will be an interactive poster exhibition called Supercharged by AI coming to our library. And I thought to myself, what can I do to engage students in this exhibition? And how can I develop an assessment based on this library visit? So I reached out to our wonderful librarian, Alana Ross. I think you're here hearing us. Thank you, Alana, so much for your collaboration on this. And we sat together and we chatted about what we can do to raise awareness. I remember vividly telling Alana that I am almost sure that our students are not aware of how biased AI could be. And I felt that it was one of my responsibility because students who come to Writing 001 are freshman students. So I think this is sort of like a gateway course to other writing courses, and it's very important for them to recognize how biased AI can be before they go ahead and start using it. So Alana was so kind to develop a workshop, and she gave students case studies. The workshop, they went to the poster exhibition, which was very interactive. Students visited the exhibition and interacted with the posters. And then also Alana talked to them about AI bias, introduced AI bias to them. And they were given case studies, which were newspaper articles. And each of the case studies talked about a specific type of AI bias that ranged from gender bias to racial bias to cultural bias, to different kinds. And they had to sit in groups, analyze these articles, and do micro presentations on the go with no previous much time to prepare. So they had to talk about the type of AI bias that their case study talked about, and then why is it harmful? What is the impact of this type of AI bias? So they had to start thinking about how it could affect their own lives and the lives of people that they love and care about. And they also were prompted to think about how AI bias can be prevented. And in a sense, we were trying to direct them about the importance of human factor, regardless of the availability of AI tools. So we had a nice whole class discussion. And I usually use Mentimeter as an exit ticket in most of my classes. So I also added that component just to make sure that students were getting out of the session with a good understanding of what AI bias is. So the second stage in Kolb's experiential learning cycle looks at reflections, and that's what I have done exactly. And it matched what I usually do in the class. So early in the semester, and every time with Writing 001 students, I establish free writing as a writing technique in the class. So according to Peter Elbow, when we free write, we write nonstop for 10 to 20 minutes. We do not focus on grammar. We do not focus on spelling or word choice. We're just writing our thoughts on paper. So I had established this concept at the beginning of the semester. Students read Peter Elbow's free writing piece, and they were using it during the semester. So I thought this is also a very good time for them to sit and reflect on their visit to the library, but this time a bit more focused than just free write. So I told them, when you are going to free write, I want you to keep the library workshop in mind, because this was the following class. Think back to your experience in the library workshop. Think about the exhibition that you visited, and also think about the group discussions that you had. And if you want more guidelines, these are the statements that you read in the exhibition and that you can also think about. So in the exhibition, if you see here on the right-hand side, students were given some stickers, and this here ranges from strongly disagree to neutral, agree, strongly agree, and students had to place the sticker to one of these three statements. So do they think they agree that the technologies of today can fix the problems of tomorrow? We should stop developing AI because the risks are too high. AI will create a world where nothing is real. So these were helpful for them if they were really out of ideas. But I could tell the majority of them had a lot to say, and they didn't really need the prompts, but these prompts were available for them in case they needed them. So, and after the free writing, before I move on to something else, after the free writing, now Peter Elbow recommends that free writing is not graded, and we shouldn't be giving feedback on students' free writing. But what I usually do is I ask them questions. So what did you find yourself writing about? Did you write about multiple types of AI bias? Did you write about a single type of AI bias? Did you write about the case study that you were assigned in the library workshop, so on and so forth? So we had that little class discussion before we moved on. Now, before I move on to the third stage, the topic focused development, I want you to just take a minute and in the chat, write for me, what is one thing you wish your students understood better about AI? If you can just take 1 minute and write in the chat, what is one thing you wish your students understood better about AI? I need to check it. They should not let it take their voice. Yes, extremely important. And that's one of the things that Peter Elbow believes, that with free writing, the more we allow students to free write, the more they will develop their own voice in writing. And definitely they have to check how promptly they can get the answer with least amount of effort. Ethical use is a means, not a goal. Yes. Yes, I love this, Marky. It is your assistant, not the primary producer of content, of course. Yes. It can assist me, but not think of me. Yeah, that's great. You can keep those answers coming, but I will move on for the sake of time. So the third stage in the cycle was now topic focused development. So now that we have done some brainstorming, we had to do some more topic focused development. So in our session, we talked about the reasons behind human bias. Students looked at the reasons behind AI bias, and students looked at how it connects to human bias, how because we are biased as humans, this is being replicated in AI, and how this can have an impact on certain decisions, unfair decisions, real life decisions that would happen in hiring, healthcare, access to service. So there was a lot of raising awareness in that classroom where students really understood the risks of just completely relying on AI without having the human component in that. And then students were asked to choose one type of AI bias to focus on, but they were not limited to the type that they read in the case study. They were asked to read the case studies and annotate them and upload their annotations on Padlet, so that I would make sure that they have read the case studies, and then from there they would choose the type of bias to focus on. But they were required in their essay, and that was the key point, and a key requirement is to use insights from the workshop to frame their essays. So they were not going to ChatGPT to get content. They have to be there in the workshop to get the content, and also refer to the case studies that were given to them. And of course, we worked through the regular essay process. They had to write a thesis and topic sentences so that I can make sure and approve their outline in a sense. Now, the essay writing process is the last stage in that cycle, which is a process and a cycle in itself, where students were drafting in class, and they had to refer to the exhibition and to the case studies. And they also had a feedback cycle with instructor feedback, peer review, and ChatGPT assisted review. And yes, I did allow them to use ChatGPT for feedback because they were going to do it anyway. However, we do not stop there. Students have to compare the review that they get from their peers in the classroom with the feedback that they get from ChatGPT, and they were asked to reflect on whether AI can replace peer feedback and identify the strengths and the limits of each of the feedback that they got. So they had a worksheet to complete, and they were asked, for example, what is one comment from your peer that you will implement in your essay? And then they had to show the revisions. What is one comment from ChatGPT that you will implement? What is one comment that you reject and why? So there were a lot of questions that prompted their thought process and that they cannot just generate based on ChatGPT. And as with all essays that involve the use of AI, students have to include a disclaimer table at the end showing specifically what AI tool they have used and how did they use it. But they're only allowed to use AI tools at the very, very end after submitting the draft first. And because this is a 001 course, students do not know APA. They do not do in-text citations yet. This is not one of the objectives of this course or the outcomes of this course. So I had them use a reflection table instead, where they have to say in each paragraph, what did they refer to and what case study did they use and what does this show? Like what kind of bias does it show? Just to have a a better understanding, and for them to also make sure that they are referring to specific examples from the case studies and from the library exhibition in their essays. And then there was the final reflection task, which we do after every single essay. That's just the usual part of the essay writing process. And some of the questions that I've asked them to include in their reflection. Did you know about AI bias before the library session? If yes, how did your perception or understanding change after reading the case studies and writing your essay? And if no, were you surprised to learn about AI bias, and what surprised you most? Now, the majority did not know about AI bias, and they were very concerned about specifically things that relate to the hiring process or access to healthcare, so on and so forth. And then I asked them to think about all the steps that we followed, and I asked them to see to talk about which steps helped you the most in developing your ideas or improving your writing. Library workshop and free writing were definitely what came up the most in developing students' ideas, but in improving the writing, it still is teacher feedback. And I think one of the things that I would want to see is more appreciation of the time students take to give peer feedback to each other. But probably because this is still at the 001 level, we need to do more with helping students give better feedback to each other. And I just want to end with, I really believe that now in the age of AI, using multiple approaches is very important. Having students write in class, use AI for feedback, but also maintain the traditional peer review method and present in class as well about their work is very important. And what I really liked about this specific assignment, and the reason I chose to share it, is because it was nice to see students move from just simply using AI to really understanding how it works and how biased it could be, so that we can be very careful when using it. Because I also, and as everyone, of course, who is here, believes that our role as educators is not only to deliver content, but it is also to build awareness and responsibility. And with that, I conclude my talk. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much to our wonderful speakers for today. I think that you've given us a lot of food for thought, from your 4-stage assessment cycle, Dr. Norita, to basically redesigning, case studies, to be AI resistant. I love experiential learning and the COLD framework and how it's used to reshape essay writing, and obviously the use of ClassPoint AI also is very concrete examples of how basically we can redesign and rethink assessment in a very creative way. I know that Dr. Norita has answered most of the questions that came on the Q&A session. We do have one question, I think that was for Diana, around the ClassPoint AI. So the question is whether can you use it for other courses or just for one lecture or one course? So it's more around the licensing and all. If Diana, you have an answer for that?
Actually, you can use it for all your lectures, and it saves everything. You do it for all the lectures. So let me show you an example. I'll share my screen and I'll show you my work. This is now I opened, as you see, my talk for today. But if I go to ClassPoint, I go here.
You're not sharing your screen.
I'm not sharing. Sorry. Let me go back. 1 second. Sorry, I forgot to share my screen. Where did I go? Actually, I think I got out. I cannot see the.
Okay. In the meantime,
Diana, I'm back. So you can go to my classes and you can. Here is the share screen. So you can go and share. It saves all what you have been doing.
Right. So it could be used through multiple courses, multiple lectures.
It saves all your sessions are saved here. It is. Let me share.
We had another question on vocational education and preparing assessment for that purpose. And I think that our last speaker spoke about experiential learning that could fit, but I don't know if any one of you would like to add anything on that end.
Yeah, I can just add a little bit. With any assessment, regardless of the field, I mean, you can see that today we have 3 different fields, but the main focus is about critical thinking. It's about the process. It is not about just the product. So regardless of, in this case, whether it's vocational, you can always just do this in a way that do not do everything at once. I would suggest that do one step at a time. So try with one specific assessment and then see whether it works or not. So do not be too ambitious. If this is the beginning, just try one at a time. Okay. And if you are stuck at any single point of the design, feel free. I mean, you have our contact. Feel free to get in touch with us. We're more than happy to help you with that.
Thank you very much. So if we don't have any more questions, I'd like to thank Dr. Norita, Diana, Randa for a wonderful session, very concrete examples. I hope I can see many of our friends here with us in this session. We are planning a series of sessions. Some of you, if you do follow the LinkedIn page of Studiosity and clicks to find out about these sessions, they will be open to the wider community. We've got lots of questions around presentations and recording. All of them will be uploaded in the next couple of days on the link that we have shared. We are hoping to build a community of practice. Thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you for our participants. You've been very active, very engaged. I've seen colleagues like Mohammed and all sharing resources and links to things. So this is really what we are trying to do, is to work collectively together to basically navigate this tsunami that we have had in higher education with AI. As much as it brings opportunities, it also brings a lot of challenges that many of you have posted or written about. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again in another panel. And yes, we will be pasting the link for the certificate of attendance. So please do follow the link that my colleague Udaya will paste. Make sure you write your name properly, because you will only be able to issue it once. I think Diana has something she wants to share with us.
I just wanted to share my screen. I cannot finish without showing them.
Share your screen, Diana. We still have a few minutes. Go ahead.
Show you this thing. It's very important actually to mention it. Maybe I did not go over it. So when we go to our ClassPoint notes, you can see, let me go to my notes that I was working on them. And you can go like a screen show. This is my ClassPoint. I want to show my classes. This is, you can see it. So you see, it saves everything. I do it through the whole semester. So this is for Math 01 Section 1. It shows me the names, everything here. I'm in a different course. So it shows me everything I have created and their participation and their grades, the whole thing I've done so far with my courses. So that's why you can use it for each lecture, and it saves, or even you open a new PowerPoint, it says what has been done in the previous one as grading wise. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you did get to share your screen, and
I want to show the
exactly. And this is just the start.
Oh, you create a class on ClassPoint. You create your own class, and it stays.
Diana, we are going to ask you to do a short recording for the resources that we're building together on the use of ClassPoint AI. So I'm going to come back to each one of you and ask you for something in the next few days, because I'm sure that our colleagues who were here with us are going to go back to their institutions and talk about the great things they heard. And it would be nice to see some case studies. So hopefully do stay tuned with us so that you find out more about what we're doing. There's a lot to be done, but I think that collectively we can basically, defeat AI, no matter how worried we are about that. Thank you so much. Sean, I don't know if you want to say any final words.
No, just to echo what you said, Dr. Nariman. Thank you very much. And thank you to the 3 of you. I think it's been a really valuable and brilliant first webinar to kick off our series, and I'm very excited for the rest of them that are coming. I think the next one will probably be mid to late January, but we'll obviously be letting you know about that when the time comes. So thank you all, and thank you again, everyone.
Thank you very much to AUS and to Dr. Norita, Dr. Diana, and Ms. Randa, and to also James Griffith, who sits on our leadership focus group and who has made this possible. And there will be other sessions organized by other institutions, and we hope to see you all. Thank you very much and have a very pleasant evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.